Welcome, everyone, to our third interview about the incredible planetary lineup of spring 2016. My name is Antonia Langsdorff, and here with me, speaking from Arizona today, is Ray Merriman, President of Merriman Market Analyst. Hi, Ray.
Hi, Antonia. Good to be with you again.
Yes, vice versa. Okay, we're going to continue our interviews about this fascinating spring lineup of geocosmic signatures. In this interview, we will focus on who and what nations are affected. Ray, can you briefly review these important spring geocosmic signatures?
Of course. Well, there's two powerful geocosmic signatures unfolding this spring. The larger one involves a mutable T-square that's unfolding between Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn in Sagittarius, and Neptune in Pisces. And to this combination, we can also add Mars because it's turning retrograde in Sagittarius, nearby to Saturn, as your slide shows here. These are in 8 to 16 degrees of mutable signs. Those are the degrees that are affected because that's where Mars and Saturn turned retrograde. And all the planets in this T-square will be between 8 and 16 degrees of mutable signs. Now, the second important geocosmic phenomenon that's happening now is Mars and Pluto are both turning retrograde within 1 day of each other on April 17th and 18th. And they're turning retrograde at 17 degrees of Capricorn. So, therefore, anyone or any country that has planets at 16 to 18 degrees of cardinal signs is also going to be affected under this combination.
Okay, so that means that people who are born between February 27th and March 9th in the sign of Pisces are affected, and Geminis born between May 28th and June 9th, and people from the sign of Virgo born between August 30th and September 10th, or Sagittarians born between November 29th and December 9th. And the Capricorn or the cardinal people affected are the Capricorns, January 6th to 10th, the Aries people, born between April 5th and 9th, then people from the sign of Cancer, born between July 7th and 11th, and the Libras, born between October 8th and 12th. So, all these signs are affected by Pluto turning retrograde, right?
Yes, so that's a lot of dates, and that's the sun signs, but it also involves anyone who has any other natal planet, ascendant or midheaven in those degrees.
And how will people with planets in these degrees be affected?
Well, it depends upon where their sun or those planets are in their natal horoscope. And for that, one's going to need a professional astrologer, such as yourself, to help them understand these energies.
Yes, absolutely. You will have to look into the natal chart in depth. Okay.
But generally speaking, I want to say something else. Generally speaking, those people with planets at 8 to 16 degrees of mutable signs will likely find that agreements with other people are suddenly changing. So with Jupiter, they enter into these agreements with a great sense of hope and optimism. They think they're going to forge these new alliances and agreements successfully. But because Saturn and Neptune are also involved, they need to understand that these agreements are vulnerable to being broken. And one of the parties may feel betrayed. Or you may find yourself wanting out of an agreement because you see a better option for yourself. And therefore, it may be you and not the other person who changes your mind, and you're the one that betrays the other party. That you got to be careful of. So these conditions may apply to those people who are born also with 16 to 18 degrees of cardinal signs. But the difference is, if you got planets at 16 to 18 degrees of cardinal signs when Pluto's going retrograde, your reactions may be more intense. In fact, with Pluto, this can portend danger of losing a position at work, danger to one's health or the well-being of someone close to you, danger of terminating something that requires a major change in life, because Mars and Pluto turning retrograde together implies one may be caught into a no-win situation. Someone wins, but someone loses if you got planets between 16 to 18 degrees of cardinal signs.
Is there a positive way that people can use these aspects?
Oh, sure. With Saturn involved in the midpoint of the mutable T-square, everything revolves around your patience and your sense of responsibility. So you need to keep a record of any agreements that you make, any conversations, because you may be asked to account for your decisions. If you can do that, then you're respected as a person of integrity and honesty. But if you can't account, then you're viewed as one who may not be true to his or her word, and therefore you can't be trusted. And trust is a big issue under this combination. You need to be clear in your communications and honorable in your intent. Because if you intentionally deceive other people, it will result in an unfavorable judgment, embarrassment, or loss of prestige or position. Now, with Pluto in cardinal signs, one needs to also be conscientious and avoid dangerous situations. In a potentially explosive situation at work, it may be better to be quiet until the emotions are under control, or just try harder to find win-win solutions. They are there if you want them. If you don't want a win-win solution, if you feel that you got to win and somebody else to lose, then you better start thinking about major reforms, even drastic changes in your lifestyle, before something powerful like this can heal the wounds before it's too late.
Yeah, thank you for these interesting ideas about how can people live with these aspects, and how would world leaders or countries that have planets in these degrees, how would they be in the news this spring? I mean, how would it show in their charts and in their behavior?
Well, right off the bat, we see Vladimir Putin of Russia. He has his Sun, Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, all conjunct in Libra, square Uranus in Cancer. And the Saturn in Libra is at 17 degrees, and the Uranus is 18 degrees. So right away we see Pluto is affecting him. And this week, he was once again exposed, along with other world leaders like Bashar Assad, for allegedly hiding money in an offshore Panamanian bank. This is classic Pluto, which rules secrecy, corruption, hiding of assets to avoid taxes. And many of those exposed are going to be pressured to resign, such as the president of Iceland was pressured to resign this past week. Now you'll see, if you look at the chart of Bashar Assad, you'll see he has his natal Saturn at 13 degrees of Pisces. And that's in opposition to his Sun, Uranus, and Pluto conjunction in these critical degrees of Virgo, which are mutable signs. So he's affected by the mutable T-square. And if you look at the chart of the country that he rules, Syria, you'll see it's affected by both of these degree sectors, because you have the moon at 14 of Pisces, which you showed circled here, and his Sun Mercury midpoint is at 17 degrees of Capricorn. Thus, Syria may be readying for a major change in leadership this year, even before the summer, as is Putin. There's changes coming up both in Russia and Syria at this time.
Yes, I get it. And if we look at the chart of Recep Erdogan, ruler of Turkey, we see a similar setup. In fact, 7 of 10 of his natal planets are in one of these two critical degree patterns.
Yes, he's getting a lot of negative press here in the United States too. Last week, his bodyguards roughed up some demonstrators who were against him and what he's doing in Turkey before he gave a speech here last week. And his chart shows him to be in a potentially explosive warlike situation this season, as you show by these planets, 7 of them in these degrees.
And do you think Russia, Syria, and Turkey are in the most dangerous situations in the world today?
Well, not necessarily. There's a lot of other regions and leaders who are affected by these incredible geocosmic signatures in effect. Take a look at the chart of Iran. Since we discussed violations of agreements, this is a good candidate for that condition. Note that both Mars and Pluto are turning retrograde in hard aspect to Iran's natal Saturn, which is 8 degrees of Virgo, and natal Pluto at 18 of Libra. And then Greece is another country that's affected by these transits. We have two charts for Greece. One is 1830. And in the 1830 chart, you show Mars at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, which is where Saturn is. And it brings in the opposition to Moon in Gemini. Now, if you look at the 1944 chart, and the chart of Alexis Tsipras as president, you see Jupiter in the 1974 chart. Jupiter's at 17 of Pisces, and Tsipras's Jupiter is also 17 of Pisces. So no wonder he keeps getting elected, even though he keeps having problems coming through with these bailout payments. So this might explain why he's popular in Greece, but the fact is that Saturn is close enough to afflict Jupiter in the charts of both Greece and Tsipras. And Greece's debtors are demanding payment that is coming due shortly. And of course, Greece doesn't want to pay. They don't want to pay what they agreed to pay several bailouts before today. And of course, Germany will demand that they pay, as Germany always demands that people pay their debts, as Germany also pays their own debts. So another broken agreement appears beyond the horizon for Greece, and another betrayal appears beyond the horizon for Germany regarding collection of this debt according to terms already agreed to many times over. And you can see this frustration escalating based on German Chancellor Angela Merkel's chart. You see by this chart, her ascendant is 16 degrees of Sagittarius, which is right where Saturn is, and conjunct the Mars of Greece. These two countries will likely fight over this as long as both remain in the EU.
Whoa, those are interesting outlooks. Are there financial markets that stand out to you as we head into the Mars-Pluto retrograde of April 17th and 18th?
Oh, they all stand out. As discussed in our first two interviews, this spring season can coincide with irrational exuberance because Jupiter's in opposition to Neptune, or it can coincide with fear, hysteria, and panic due to Saturn in square aspect to both. And as expected, we're seeing both psychologies going back and forth every 1 to 2 weeks because these are mutable signs. They're changeable. But one market I'm especially interested in right now is gold for two reasons. First, within 2 weeks of Mars turning retrograde or direct, which we'll do on April 17th and June 29th respectively, gold often reaches a low or a high in price will not be seen again for the rest of the year. So I will be watching for low or high around one of those times and a powerful reversal in gold to occur. Second, Mars is turning retrograde at 8 degrees of Sagittarius and is turning direct at 23 degrees of Scorpio. These are historically very important degrees for Mars and gold. As discussed in the forecast for 2016 book and webinar, gold tends to make an important low in price when Mars is in late Libra. This happened on December 10th to January 4th, and we advise our subscribers to buy gold then as it hovered around $1,050 an ounce. And you can see from this chart, from the red horizontal line on the bottom there, when gold made its low in mid-December. Now, once it goes into Scorpio, which was in early January, prices rise sharply to a crest in the later degrees of Scorpio. Those degrees were in effect February 8th to March 4th, and that's shown by the horizontal blue line at the top of this chart. The highest close in gold was on March 4th, although intraday it went a little higher to $1,287 an ounce on March 11th. Our subscribers got out and went short around March 4th. We caught almost the entire move up based solely on the transit of Mars from late Libra through late Scorpio. Now, the next thing to keep in mind is that gold tends to come down to a low when Mars is in the first 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Well, due to the retrograde factor, Mars is going to be in the first 9 degrees of Sagittarius for a long time, from March 4th to May 27th. And then it retrogrades back into Scorpio, where it tends to get very bullish again. So we're looking for low in gold now, due anytime before May 27th. It may even happen, it may have just happened because we're already within 2 weeks of Mars turning retrograde.
Amazing. Where can people find out more about this?
Well, for more information, they go to my website at www.mmacycles.com or my German counterpart at www.mma-europe.ch, or they can call us at the number you show on the screen, 1-248-626-3034, or they can email us. And that's how they can get a hold of us. And they can keep up with our daily reports, not daily, but we have a free weekly column that goes up every Friday night, Saturday morning. They can keep up with some of these thoughts with that free weekly
Very
column
good,
too.
and it's also available in German. It will be translated every week, and it will be available on your MMA Europe page, which is great. Yes,
Yes,
and
that's right.
dear listeners, if you want to know about the effects of these constellations in your own life, you can of course book a reading about your personal chart and contact me through my email or website www.antonialangsdorf.com or info@antonialangsdorf.com. Yes, Ray, we probably will continue this series of interviews in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yes, we should do this maybe every 2 or 3 weeks while these aspects are in effect, because some very powerful things happening and going to continue to happen. We haven't even discussed yet, such as the corruption, impeachment proceedings going on in
Yes.
Brazil, Malaysia. There's a
And of
lot yet to
course,
cover. So we started this and
and
we'll
of course,
continue
Donald
this.
Trump and the US election. That's going to be a
Oh, that's
big,
going to be
big
very
thing.
important as we get through
Yes.
the year. Yes, it
Okay.
will.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ray, and
Antonia.
thank you for watching our interviews of the incredible spring. And stay tuned. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.